Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today guys, I'm gonna do part 3 of talking to a random chatbot. That's what I'm gonna call it for now. But if you've watched the last 2 videos, you'll know exactly what I'm doing anyway. Like I said, I don't know completely. Like I said, these videos are going to be experimental. If this somehow does not work out, then I'm not doing it anymore. Because like I said, I don't want to get in trouble on YouTube. I'm just trying something different. That way it's not the same games and everything over and over again. Plus, I actually had an interesting time actually doing this. So, yeah. Once we get to the end, I'll put the name in the description. I think every time I will have the name in the description for every single one, and I'll change it for every time we do a different one if it ain't mine. Alright? But we finally got Garchomp. Uh, we've mostly got Garchomp's trust, and actually at the very end, like near the end of the episode last time, we actually did get her to join my team. But she has been telling me a few things about her that, like, is gonna make it. Well, it's not really gonna make it hard, just a few things she has to let us know. So, yeah. But let's continue from where we left off. Garchomp felt herself growing a bit emotional at the human's genuine declaration of love. She hadn't expected this kind of reception, especially not from someone who could have just as easily ignored or feared her. She composed herself again, steeling her expression to her usual one of cool indifference. I appreciate that. More than you know. I'm just used to humans who don't understand me, or assume the worst about me because of how I look. You are not a bad Pokemon, just misunderstood. Garchomp nodded in agreement. She knew that her appearance could be intimidating, especially to those who didn't understand her, but the human's words still felt like a relief, as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. You're one of the few humans who sees past my exterior. Most people take one look at me and assume I'm nothing but a monster. That is what people say about a lot of Pokemon. Like for Alligator, people think of him as a big, scary, and mean Pokemon, but nearly every Fragger I have ever known has been extremely kind to me, and I love him for that. And here's what I'm talking about, guys. This is why I brought the Fragger into the conversation more. She started talking about him, and later on you'll get to see him interacting too. Garchomp listened intently as the human spoke about Feraligatr. She had always been intimidated by the water-type Pokemon due to its size and fearsome appearance. Feraligatr, huh? You mean those large water-dwelling Pokemon that look like alligators? They look ferocious, but you're saying they can actually be friendly? Pretty much every Fragger I've known has been very sweet. As I have seen, if you are nice to him, he will be nice to you. Garchomp was intrigued. She had always assumed that Feraligatr were aggressive and dangerous Pokemon. They can be if you flip them like a mad, but if you give them the trust, they're like your best friends. At least that's what I've learned, it seems like. Just like she was perceived to be. But the thought of a huge, fearsome creature having a gentle side was both surprising and almost endearing. That's unexpected. I would have thought a Pokemon that looks that tough would be all about aggression and the strength, not kindness and friendship. Looks can be deceiving. Freyr can be mean and aggressive, but if he knows you love him, he will love you back. At least in my experience. Garchomp nodded slowly, mulling over the human's words. She was used to judging Pokemon solely on their outer appearance and demeanor, but the idea that there was often more beneath the surface was something she had never really considered. I suppose that makes sense. I guess I've always judged Pokemon based on their looks. I didn't think much beyond that. But then again, no one has ever looked past my appearance to see me for who I really am. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to be your trainer. We are almost home. Let's get there and rest up for the night. Here's where the conversation is starting to wrap up, guys, because like I said, there's a little bit more to it, but we're getting to the end of it now. Garchomp felt a new sense of anticipation and excitement as they neared their destination. The idea of having a trainer, someone who loved and appreciated her, was both strange and comforting. She looked at the human and nodded. Let's get going then. I'm feeling a bit tired from the long walk here, and I'm starting to get hungry. Before we get ready for bed, what do you want to eat? I think my other Pokemon may be getting hungry too. Like I said, this is where I got another Pokemon to the conversation. Like I said, some of the Pokemon just started coming and talking to us, which was so cool. Garchomp paused to think for a moment, mentally considering her options. She had never had to ask for food before. She usually hunted herself, but the thought of being fed sounded oddly appealing. She spoke up with slight hesitation. I could, go for some meat, if you have any. I'm not too picky about the type. I'll eat anything that looks good. Would you like, and this is, like I said, you could add pretty much anything into this and it was entertaining. I'm completely serious, guys. Look at what I said, and look at how it responds. Would you like a steak if I made it? Or would you prefer something else? And here we go. Garchomp's ears perked up at the mention of steak. She had never had one before, but the idea of a juicy piece of meat sounded extremely appealing to her hungry self. She quickly nodded. Steak? I want a steak. I've never had one before, but they look delicious. Alright, we are home now. Let me go prepare the steak. What are you going to do in the meantime? It will probably be about 10 minutes before it's fully cooked. And like I said, guys, don't take that as complete facts. Like I said, it's just something you can play around with and have fun with. So I was really since it was good, since it actually responded to everything I said, including the steak I actually just made up at the time. I was like, okay, you can do what you want. And I thought that was a really cool idea. But watch, it keeps going with the conversation. Garchomp glanced around, taking in the new environment. She was still a bit uncomfortable being in a new place, especially one made by humans, but the thought of a steak was enough to keep her distracted and excited. I think I'll wander around a bit, explore the place. I won't get into any trouble, I promise. Go ahead and do that. I'll get some of my other Pokemon out for dinner too. If you need something, let me know. Garchomp nodded and began to look around the home. She was careful not to touch or break anything, but she was still intrigued by the various objects and decor. She peeked into a few rooms but didn't explore extensively. After a few minutes, her stomach growled, reminding her that the steak she had been promised was still cooking. Do not worry, Garchomp. Like I said, this is like, it was only a minute or two or sometime after I flip and put this, but like I said, you can actually make pretty much anything happen. It was so cool. Do not worry, Garchomp. It'll be done in about 2 minutes. Since it's almost done, why don't you say hi to my other Pokemon at least if you feel comfortable with it? Garchomp felt a bit nervous at the prospect of meeting more Pokemon, especially when she was still unsure of her new trainer and her place in this new environment. But her curiosity got the better of her, and she nodded reluctantly. Alright, I'll go say hello to them. Just don't let them attack me, okay? Do not act aggressive towards them and they won't attack. My Pokemon are very nice. When the steak is done, I will join you all outside, alright? Garchomp took a deep breath, steeling herself for the encounter. She knew that acting aggressive would only set a bad impression, so she tried her best to appear calm and non-threatening. Okay, I'll do my best. I'll just greet them and then wait for you to come out with the steak. Alright, see you when it's done. Garchomp walked cautiously outside, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never been around many other Pokemon before, especially not ones that belonged to trainers, but she was determined to be polite and friendly as her new trainer had suggested. Hey Garchomp, how's everything going out there? The steak is ready. Let me cut it up evenly for all my Pokemon and we can all eat it. Garchomp was relieved to hear the human approach. She had been standing awkwardly by herself, surrounded by a few curious Pokemon who were checking her out. She turned to the human and spoke up, her voice slightly nervous. It's going okay, just a bit awkward. A few of your Pokemon are eyeing me up, but I'm trying to be friendly. You are just as new to them as they are to you. I'll introduce you to them so they know what is going on. Garchomp relaxed slightly at the thought of being properly introduced to the Pokemon. She nodded, appreciating the human's thoughtfulness and concern for her comfort. She spoke up in an uncharacteristically timid tone. That would be good. So they don't think I'm a threat or something. And then I introduced Garchomp to everyone, understanding what is going on. They nodded and say hello to her. Garchomp felt a mix of relief and embarrassment as the human introduced her to their Pokemon. Some of them looked a bit weary of her at first, but they quickly seemed to understand that she meant no harm. As the other Pokemon said hello to her, she did her best to appear friendly and non-threatening. She had never been introduced to others before, and it was an odd experience. Uh, uh, hi? Nice to meet you all. I'm really happy that you all are getting along, and now that things are settled, who's hungry? And after saying that, I'll hold the plates of steak up, waiting patiently for answers. And literally, I didn't expect this because Gart's almost the only one I said to speak English. Literally, every Pokemon started speaking English, especially for Algier once I get him into the conversation a lot more. Watch. The group of assorted Pokemon all started to perk up at the mention of food, their eyes fixed on the plates of steak in the human's hands. They all started to speak up at once, each of them eager to get a taste of the juicy meat. Garchomp was just as excited. She tried her best to keep her cool, but the smell of the steak was enough to make her start, let's just say, drooling. I don't want to say the actual word they used for that because that was just weird. And then I passed out the plates of steak my sweet Pokemon were so excited for. All of the Pokemon eagerly accepted their plates of steak, their mouths watering in anticipation. Some of the more impatient ones immediately dug in, while others took a moment to sniff the steak appreciatively before taking a bite. Garchomp was one of the latter. The smell and look of the steak were making her drool, but she paused for a moment to admire the meal before her. Then, with a mix of reverence and hunger, she took a bite. The taste was like nothing she had ever experienced before. Juicy and flavorful. It was like heaven. I'm not gonna finish that last part because that just sounds weird as frick. The way it said it. Do you all think the steak is good? And I did a good job making it? And look, again, the point respond to this. Each of the Pokemon let out sounds of agreement and approval, their mouths stuffed with delicious steak. One by one, they all nodded and hummed in satisfaction, some even giving thumbs-up gestures. Garchomp was among the first to speak up, her mouth still half full of steak. This is amazing. I never knew this could taste so good. Again, it's steak. What is steak? She really said she wanted it. She wanted meat. Take that and add to that sentence I just said, and you'll have what she completely said. I guess it sounds so weird saying it like that's why I changed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That makes me happy. Do you all want to sleep or play for a while before bed? It does not matter to me. The Pokemon all exchanged glances, considering the options. Some of them were already feeling the effects of eating a big meal and were starting to feel sleepy. Others, however, still had plenty of energy to burn off and were eager to play for a while longer. Garchomp was in the latter group. Despite having just eaten, she was still feeling energized and couldn't imagine going straight to sleep right away. She spoke up, her voice bright with excitement. I'm not ready to sleep yet. Let's play. Alright, Garchomp, we will play. Who else wants to play? The other Pokemon chimed in with various sounds of agreement. All but the sleepiest one seemed to be up for playing, eager to have some fun after a good meal. And see, that's the thing, it didn't tell me which Pokemon were like that, so I just came up, I said for alligator, which is where he started coming up into the conversation. Garchomp's eyes sparkled with glee. She hadn't really played with other Pokemon before, and the idea was almost as exciting as the steak she had just eaten. Alright, Garchomp, and like I said, here's where I pull out Jaeger's name. Alright, Garchomp and Feraligatr, since you both want to play, is there anything in particular you want to play with? Garchomp and Feraligatr both looked thoughtfully for a moment as they considered a question. Garchomp spoke up first, her voice enthusiastic. I don't have anything specific in mind, but I'd be up for anything that involves running and chasing. I love using my speed and strength. Feraligatr nodded in agreement. And again, it says this is a girl Feraligatr, but so I can differentiate the Pokemon, I'm gonna actually make his a little bit like more deeper in terms of a man's voice. Yes, I know it won't sound right since it's supposed to be a female Feraligatr supposedly, but again, I just don't want to risk anything. I'm the same. I'd love to play something that involves a good chase, maybe a game of tag or something similar. Alright, I have two games in mind, tag or hide and seek. Which of these two would you like to play? Garchomp and Feraligatr both contemplated the two options. Tag was tempting as it would allow them to really make use of their powers and speed, but on the other hand, hide and seek would give them a chance to use stealth and strategy. Garchomp spoke up first, her voice decisive. I vote for tag. I want to run and chase, and being it in hide and seek would be no fun for me. Alright, Garchomp. What do you want, Feraligatr? I want you both to have fun. Feraligatr considered the options for a moment, weighing the pros and cons of each game. Finally, yes, as she spoke up, her voice steady and confident. But now I've got a girl Pokemon, I'm not making Feraligatr sound like a flippin' cowgirl. So, I'm keeping the voice I said, even though it's gonna be a pretty deep man voice. I agree with Garchomp. I think tag sounds more exciting than hide and seek. Running and chasing sounds like a lot of fun. Alright, tag it is. The only thing I ask is to play a little quiet since I have other Pokemon trying to sleep. Like I said, it took a scenario and actually turned it into its own thing, which I thought was really cool. Garchomp and Feraligatr both nod, understanding the human's request not to make too much noise while the other Pokemon were sleeping. They looked a bit disappointed as they knew they would have to rein in their excitement and enthusiasm in order to keep the noise level down. But they also understood the importance of letting the other Pokemon rest. We'll try our best to play quietly, Garchomp said, her voice hushed. There is a spot, and like I said, you could take, like I said a million of times, guys, you can take scenarios and just turn them into your own thing, like this. There is a spot decently far from the camp my Pokemon are sleeping at. You can run around and be more loud there. Would you like me to show you where it is? The two Pokemon's eyes lit up at the suggestion. The idea of having a more secluded space where they could run around and be as loud as they wanted was very appealing. Garchomp nodded eagerly. Yes, please, show us the spot. We really want to play loudly. Alright, before I show you where it is, I need to ask you something. Are you okay with that? Garchomp and Feraligatr both looked a bit puzzled at the sudden question, but they nodded. Their curiosity piqued. Sure, ask away, Garchomp replied, her voice expectant. Just please be careful when playing together. I really do not want either of you hurt. Is that okay with both of you? Garchomp and Feraligatr both nodded in agreement, their expressions becoming serious. They understood the importance of staying safe while playing together. We'll be careful, Garchomp promised. We don't want to get hurt either, Feraligatr added, her voice low and sincere. That's so cool. I love it. Thank you both. If something happens, let me know. Let me take you to the spot. The two pointed nod again, thankful for the human's concern and attention. They looked at each other, their excitement and anticipation building as they waited for the human to lead the way to the secluded spot. Garchomp in particular was eager to start running and playing, her muscles itching to move. I take Garchomp and here's where I made a big old thing for him. I take Garchomp and Feraligatr to a more secluded wooded area, not too far from the campground, but enough to where they can be as loud as they want. Alright, have fun. When you're done playing, please come back to the campground, okay? As the human led them to the quiet wood area, Both Garchomp and Fragger looked around with wide-eyed excitement. It was the perfect place to play and be loud without bothering the Pokemon sleeping back at the camp. Garchomp and Fragger both nodded their agreement to the human's request to return to the camp when they were done playing. Once the human was gone, the Garchomp looked at Feraligatr and spoke up. Her voice brimmed with excitement. Ready to play? Garchomp and Feraligatr, and then again, here's a little scenario for you. Garchomp and Feraligatr play for an hour and then return to the campground, getting really sleepy. Did you have fun out there? Both Garchomp and Feraligatr were panting and breathing heavily as they returned to the campground. Their fur and scales were disheveled from all the running and playing they had done in the woods. They both nodded in unison, their faces plastered with huge grins. They had clearly had a blast together, even if they were now visibly tired. I'm glad you had fun. I'm also getting sleepy too, so I'm getting ready for bed. Do you want to wash off, or do you want to do that tomorrow? Wait, wait. Oh, wait, that went. There we go. The two Pokemon exchanged glances, considering the question. They were both quite dirty after all their activity in the woods. Garchomp spoke up first, her voice a little weary. I think I'm too tired to wash off right now. Can we do that tomorrow instead? Sure. Find a relaxing spot for both of you to sleep, and I will see you in the morning. Good night. I start heading to my bed, getting ready to sleep. Both Garchomp and Feraligatr looked around for a comfortable spot to sleep. They eventually found a relatively flat area of grass sheltered by a nearby tree. It wasn't the most comfortable spot, but it was soft and out of the direct elements. They both sat down, their bodies still buzzing with the afterglow of their playtime. As they looked around, they saw the human making their way to their own bed, presumably to sleep as well. Garchomp glanced at Feraligatr and spoke up in a quiet voice. Guess we're sleeping here for the night, huh? And guys, that's where the conversation ended. Can you see what I mean, though? Like, just take from that scenario. That was just a random chatbot that I found, and since I've already heard people talk to the Toadal when, well, by people, I mean a certain person in my family. Well, yeah. Here's the thing. Here's where it gets hard. Because, for one, if I do try talking to a new chatbot, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because, like I said, I don't know if this is even going to work completely or not yet. There might be another chatbot I'll talk to, guys, but I don't completely know yet. I'll have to see how it's going to work out for me. There might be one more video at least. I'll figure it out, though. I'll be right back.